Welcome to another edition of Friday Morning Live. Today's topic is Patriot Select Insurance, available through Independent Market Solutions, November 21st, 2025. Good morning, everybody, and we're excited to have one of FAIA and FMS's newest partner, Patriot Select, on this morning. So, Jeff, next slide. There's yours truly. Wishing everybody a great Friday start or the start of the weekend, as they say. Next slide, please. Just a reminder, because Capitol Days, the legislative session is earlier this year. It starts in January. So that means our Capitol Days is also in January. You see on the screen there, the 26th through the 28th. I will tell you, there are still rooms available at the AC Marriott. But the room block closes December 26th. So if you plan on attending our annual Capitol Days, please go ahead and reserve your room. And then next step would be to go ahead and register for the event. So just a reminder, and more to come on that, but that room block does fill up pretty fast, especially with a lot of groups coming about that time of year. So next slide. And it's never too early to go ahead and reserve your room at the convention. I was with some agents recently, and they had all booked their rooms because they know last year they didn't do it in a timely manner and had to stay off property, which makes it a challenge. So we're at the Gaylord this year, June 17th through the 19th. So please go ahead and book your rooms, and then when registrations open in January, you can certainly register for our annual convention. Next slide. As we say each week, web-based learning, we are adding new content all the time, so certainly go to the education tab on our website and see what classes are coming up if you need CE, that we provide and produce at the association. And then the next slide, Jeff, is bringing in our friends from Patriot Select. So we are excited to have Patriot Select on. They're a partner. They've been a good new addition to the Florida property market. And so without further ado, let's bring them on, and they'll introduce their team, and then we'll get right into the presentation. Good morning, Patriot Select.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you want to introduce everybody on the team?
Absolutely. My name is Caitlin Francesco. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Patriot Select. On the call today, we have John Rollins, our CEO, Kelly Booten, our COO, Marsha Lamb, our CFO, Emily Craig, our Vice President of Claims, and myself. Unfortunately, our chairman could not be here today, but we are going to cut this show on the road without him.
Okay, well, good. Well, again, welcome everyone. And you know, now that unfortunately Jeff's not going to be there, John's going to take over his. I have the questions, but I'll wait, John, till the end for any questions. Just a reminder, questions. If you have something throughout the broadcast, we're going to go ahead and answer those offline. So if you have questions about Patriot Select or anything that they talk about today, go ahead and post it in the question pane. We will get them to the team that's on the call today, and we will reach out to those agents individually to respond. So just keep that in mind for the presentation today. So, all right, Caitlin.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for letting us participate this morning. You know, we're really proud to partner with FMS on this effort. You know, you guys are playing a key role in helping us expand our distribution channel. The independent agency is our focus, and you know, we are looking to bring on additional agencies and build out our footprint here in Florida as we ramp up.
Well, that's new. That's great news to certainly the members on this call, and the ones that'll certainly be asking probably offline about how that process will work. So that's great news.
Wonderful. Well, we'll go to the next slide, and I'll turn it over to Kelly.
Hey, Caitlin, did you say anything about the IMS agent partners?
Yeah, that's what I was just touching on,
Yeah.
you know, what a key
Okay.
role they've played in helping us build out our agency plan.
Okay, all right. Well then, today we're going to cover the voluntary product, the takeout product, our reinsurance update, a claims overview, and then a market update. On the voluntary product, we went live in homeowners, HO3. We went live in June of this year. We have had a slow ramp up since June and have been tweaking the product. We adjusted pricing and product features to be more competitive. We've made simple changes, as simple as solar panel eligibility, PC10s, our WLM credits defaults. We tweaked all those things, all based upon feedback from the agents in the field and how we can make it just easier for you. We did do an across-the-board rate decrease effective 11/1. And since then, that has almost doubled the volume that we're seeing month to month, just with that change, and also implementing the Easy Links comparative rater in early November. We initially launched with Quote Rush, then added Easy Links in early November. On this slide, we got a little bit of stats here we wanted to share. Our average coverage A so far has been 445,000, with Palm Beach and Broward County the highest coverage A. Counties. The top counties that we've been writing in are Palm Beach, Hillsborough, Polk, Orange, and Duval. On the next slide, we have some stats on the year-built ranges that we have been predominantly writing in today. As you can see on this slide, 42% are in the year-built 2000 to 2019, and 22% are in the 1980 to 1999 year-built range, which, you can see we're middle market. We are not necessarily the lowest price every time on new business. However, with the changes we made effective 11/1, that 11% on newer homes, 2019 and above, is starting to increase. So we are looking forward to that as we continue to get more volume and more policies in the front door. Upcoming, we've got additional product changes that we're looking to make. We have some screen enclosure pricing that we think is going to make a big difference. That's going to be effective December 4th. It's already available for quoting, so you may have noticed that. In Q1, we're looking at companion products, and then immediately following that, launching a dwelling buyer product. And also, we will be on the renewal clearinghouse in a couple of weeks and have additional raters. That slide, that's taken out. Clearinghouse a couple weeks, and then additional raters in the next, over time in the next quarter. And the other thing I want to plug in before we turn over to John and takeout is underwriting, and we really have a seasoned underwriting team. They're a bit flexible, available, ready to consult on anything you're trying to write with us and want to just run, kick the tires and make sure that your business is going to come through. We've really been changing things up in underwriting based upon your feedback. So we want to continue to hear that, and we want to be flexible and provide you the best service possible. And with that, if there's, Dave, if you don't want to add anything.
We're not going to take any from the audience, but I was just going to answer a couple questions. So Kelly, how are these changes being communicated to the agents, not only on this call, but the rest of the agents that you already have relationships with? How does that process work?
Yeah, Caitlin can answer that, but we have an email distribution and agent bulletins that Caitlin and her team manage, and we send those all out before we make the changes or as we know the changes are going in.
Yeah, because I know you all have been pretty active in the local board meetings over the last few months. And so I know you've met with a lot of agents. We've heard from many that have met you guys at those different events. So it's good, both those in-person processes and certainly through virtual communications to continue to reinforce what Patriot Select brings to the table.
Yeah, and Caitlin's always looking for events to attend, and is so if you have anything you want us to participate in, we're here available.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I understand. Okay. All right. Well, that was really all I had on that part of the presentation. Thanks. John, are you going to take the next section?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay. Next slide.
Good. This is John Rollins. I'm the CEO of Patriot Select, and I'm really proud to have my whole team here today, except my chairman, who's stuck on an airplane, unfortunately. Jeff and I came up with a vision for Patriot Select in mid to late 2023 as we felt like the market was going to improve. Jeff, having served in the Senate for 12 years, is a legislative expert, helped shepherd through many of the litigation and claims and citizens reforms that are now paying dividends for agents statewide and helping the voluntary market to heal. So we're really excited about that. And we've brought on, about 2 years ago, we brought on Kelly and Marcia and Emily and Caitlin and the folks you're talking to today. It's a really tightly knit team. We are very busy ramping things up at Patriot Select, but we're also road warriors, as Caitlin and Kelly just joked about. We're happy to come to you, and we're happy to listen. As you can tell, everybody's very excited about that voluntary HO3 product, getting the pricing correct, repositioning it where necessary, rolling it out on all the best raters that you guys are using statewide as independent agents, and then making improvements and offering companion products in 2026. So we are going full speed, as well as trying to touch all of you guys where you live and understand and listen to your local concerns. But I want to go into a little bit of history as well, because the takeout program also launched as the voluntary program did in June, and by necessity and during the teeth of hurricane season, and also in terms of taking some time, getting some agent feedback and repositioning the voluntary product as needed. As Kelly said, that rollout has been a slow ramp up. Obviously, Citizens takeouts are not a slow ramp up. You take those policies in blocks from Citizens, you assume them midterm, and then they, hopefully they roll onto your paper as takeout program policies. In the takeout program, it is an HO3 product, just like our voluntary product, but it's more of a policy that's designed to mirror Citizens, so there's no question about comparable coverage. There are some enhancements, both on the underwriting side and ability to accept business, but also on the coverage side, such as higher liability limits that are available in our quote unquote takeout HO3 product. So we're proud of that product as well. And we've assumed about 24,000 customers, as you can see on the timeline. In April of 2025 was sort of a big day for us. We were approved to launch the company, approved to make a takeout in June, approved by Demotech with an A exceptional rating, and probably most importantly, and Marcia will talk about this more, raised about $32 million in capital, and about 30 and a half of that ended up right in the bank account of the carrier. So, we feel like we were financially strong, we were ready to go. We selected policies for June and were awarded and won about 12,000 of those policies on June 17th. So a lot of folks told us, geez, do you really want to launch with a big block of takeout policies right as you get into hurricane season? We felt we were up to the task and had told the story very well in the reinsurance markets about why the environment going forward was going to be good. We always have weather in Florida, but when you have less litigation, a greater ability to work with Citizens, it made the business case reasonable even to launch in the teeth of hurricane season. So we procured all the reinsurance we needed. In fact, we had extra reinsurance beyond what some of the other carriers did. Marcia will talk about that. So we worked through the summer to integrate those policies, which are, again, almost 12,000. We applied for another assumption in October. October is sort of the tail end of hurricane season, so there was some residual hurricane risk left, but our financial strength was so strong that we were approved by OIR to assume additional policies, and we ultimately selected and won about 10,400 policies in October. So that created a book of over 22,000 takeout policies, and as they began to renew on our takeout homeowners paper, we've had a very, very successful renewal cycle with them so far. Customers seem to be very happy, but we're always looking for agent feedback. And finally, we have evaluated the Citizens pool, and as all of you know, Citizens is shrinking fast, which is really good for the taxpayer, really good to reduce the assessment and storm risk on those taxpayers and policyholders throughout the state, including auto and business and other policyholders. So it's good public policy that Citizens has shrunk, but it also creates challenges for us in that we really found a lot fewer policies in the November and December takeouts that were worthwhile and had a chance of being reasonably profitable. So we have throttled back our selections. We did win about 2,300 policies on November 18th, just on Tuesday. So we'll be integrating those policies as well. And then we have selected policies for the December assumption. We selected a little over 4,000 policies, and based on the rate at which we're winning those policies, we think we'll have perhaps about 1,300 additional policies. So when you look at that whole timeline, we feel the takeout cycle is more or less complete at Citizens. We are not planning to do significant additional takeouts in 2026. That's going to be the year in which we really accelerate the development of voluntary products, both continuing to tweak and grow the volume in our HO3 product, which is designed for the middle market. And I sort of use the phrase hometown upscale. That's the type of customer we're looking for in the HO3 product. But we will also be launching some companion products and tweaking underwriting and potentially pricing again in 2026. So my slogan for 2026 is takeout is dead, long live keep out. We are going to get into the renewal clearinghouse. When policies become offered by Citizens as renewals, we will do our best to compete for those policies. We will also expand our agent footprint in the open market. As Kelly and Caitlin said, we are not all the way there in terms of the number of agencies we want to have appointed with us, and we will be aggressively doing that all around the state. We are writing in every county of the state except Monroe right now. And quite frankly, I'd like to open up in the Keys pretty soon. There's a lot of good business there. It's kind of a Kelly and I worked at Citizens for a long time, so we're very familiar with that area of the state as well. So I'd love to say we're open in all of 67 counties soon enough, but we are open everywhere except Monroe, and we will be aggressively targeting the voluntary product and kind of digesting and servicing the customers we have on takeout. With that, I think we're going to talk about reinsurance and financial strength next. Is that correct? And that will go over to Marcia.
There you go.
Thank you, John. And thanks for everybody being here today to talk about our company. I want to talk about our reinsurance program. A well-designed reinsurance program needs to address the two main types of catastrophe risks. There's the vertical risk, which is the risk of the big one. And then there's the horizontal risk, which is the risk of multiple catastrophes occurring in a single year. Our company is committed to addressing those risks even above and beyond the guidelines required to maintain our A rating from Demotech. For the vertical risk, our 2025 tower reached up to the 1 in 160 year return period as compared to a 1 in 130 year guideline. For the horizontal risk, we started the year with coverage for 3 events as compared to the 2 event guideline. So if you're looking at this tower here, you can see those lines off to the right-hand side showing the first limit, the second limit, and the third limit. Then we're also showing you where some recent storms would have fallen in our tower. Had we been in business and had we been using this reinsurance program, you can see that we only would have reached up to layer 2 for Milton, and Ian and Irma would have come in even lower than that. So we have plenty of room to go in our program. We are already working on our reinsurance plan for 2026, and we continue to go above and beyond when it comes to reinsurance placement to protect our hard-earned surplus. With no major events this year, we added to surplus. It's now at $31.5 million through the third quarter. So we are coming into 2026 even stronger than before. Thank you. You can go ahead to the next slide. This will be Emily.
Yeah, Emily, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I appreciate everybody else that has come to this today. And I am Emily Craig, the Vice President of Claims for Patriot Select. And on the claim side, our focus has been on creating an experience that's easy, smooth, and timely for our policyholders and the agents. We have built a streamlined digital process from the beginning. Our integrated online chat box allows policyholders to file a claim in minutes. The system auto assigns a desk adjuster and a field adjuster instantly. This ensures that we have immediate action, and it prevents delays that drive up severity. Communication is really important. We maintain readily available access to adjusters and customer service reps through calls and emails, so our customers never feel that they're dangling out there in the dark. Our partnership with agents is another priority. We call our agents and provide information on any denials. This gives them visibility and a complete understanding of the claim decision so that they can confidently handle any follow-up calls they may get from our policyholders. Since the launch back in June, we have received 219 claims, with over half of those already closed. The largest reported cause of loss has been non-weather water. That's at 57%, followed by wind at 28%. Of these claims, about 37% are represented by a public adjuster or an attorney. And again, that reinforces why we try to hop on early engagement and have really strong communication. It's really critical. We're really proud of our early results, and we're committed to provide the best possible claims experience for our policyholders. Thank you.
Hey, Emily, this is Dave. Just a quick question about that. You know, this comes up from time to time when there is a claim. What option do you prefer? Do you prefer the insured calling it in or the agent calling it in? What is the preference?
You know, it really does not matter to us either way. The questions and the setup of the claim is going to be the same, whichever direction that they call. And with that immediate auto assignment, they're going to hear from their desk adjuster really quickly. So it'll be, you know, our desk with the policyholder within 24 hours. So they'll be able to gather all the information that's needed. Calling in is, you know, just the initiation of the claim. So it goes through a series of questions, and then they're contacted where all the real discussions take place. So any of that doesn't matter to us.
Yeah, again, that comes up from time to time. You know, the agent would prefer sometimes to be involved in that conversation, but I know a lot of times the carriers would prefer that the first notice of loss go directly to them, and then the agent gets notified, and then the follow-up goes afterwards. So it sounds like, you know, either way is good with you guys, but the process to get ahead of it is the most important thing, right, Emily?
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, like I said, we have it structured so that the initial intake is very consistent and uniform. But we are always available to hear from the agents if they want to follow up and put a call in and just follow up on an initiated claim. We are available to speak with agents at any time about anything regarding the claim or, you know, any other questions they may have around it.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. All right.
I think we're moving to John next for the legislative.
John, okay. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And the only thing I would point out on claims is, you know, the technology we designed in the AI and the chatbot is used by anyone at any point of claim intake. So said a little differently, whether the agent's calling a call center, or whether the policyholder is calling a call center, or whether the policyholder or agent is filing online, in any of those cases, the claims technology for that intake and auto assignment is exactly the same. And we feel that's an advantage because we're not intaking things in multiple channels and potentially doing things differently in different channels. So we've, you know, we're really actually proud of our claims operation as much as anything. We've got some proprietary technology that we've built for that. We've got some AI that we're applying to the claims process immediately, including upload of policyholder video and analysis and so on. I don't want to give away too much, but we feel like we're doing a good job on that. And in addition, what's sort of unique about Patriot Select is majority shareholder also owns an adjusting firm. So we don't have an internal affiliated claims unit as much as we actually have a cousin company that is a full service claims operation that has got about 120 W-2 employee desk adjusters that is also adjusting a lot of claims and particularly complex claims and appraisal and litigation services for citizens. So we feel like our claims operation and our claims capabilities, not to mention ability to deploy reliably during CATs, is a little bit of an ace in the hole for us. So, you know, just a little bit of extra commentary there. And we've got a great team administering all this, as you just heard from Emily, as well as Caitlin, Kelly, and Marcia. Just to close, we feel the market is healing. I mentioned that. The data is supporting that in a couple of ways. I'm a very data-driven person. I was an actuary before I, you know, spread my wings and did other things in property insurance. I'm a property insurance geek. I've been doing Florida property for about 26 years now and been in the business about 34 years, 35 years. You know, this is our home. We love it. All of us, in fact, are Florida property insurance geeks that have worked in this industry for a long time. And none of us, you know, we all live in Florida. None of us have any plans to go anywhere else. So we keep a close eye on what's going on. But if you look at the data that's emerging from the market, there are some great sources, right? The Office of Insurance Regulation collects market share data. It used to be called Quasar, and they just gave it a new name. If you look at that, we had a tough time in 2019 through 2023, right? With rates per 1,000 of coverage going up, you know, double digits for multiple years. And then on top of that, for the policyholder, the value of their home increased dramatically, both in terms of market value and replacement costs. So the bottom line sort of premium per policy was getting double whammied with rate increases and valuation increases for about 4 or 5 years in a row. What's interesting now is, though the valuation increases are still there and homes are still worth more, and unfortunately we've had significant inflation in labor and materials, and some of the toughest parts of the inflation equation worldwide have had to do with things like lumber, screws, you know, things that you use when you repair a home, and that's just kind of some bad luck there in terms of replacement cost inflation. However, the rates have completely reversed in the past year to year and a half. Kelly mentioned that we repositioned and took rate decreases a couple of times. When we began the Patriot Select project, we analyzed what was going on in the market, made some filings, and then when we launched the voluntary product in June, we had to take a double-digit rate decrease just to sort of make it credible and get on the street. And then after a few months of data, and admittedly, you know, things were pretty slow during hurricane season, but we were looking at the data coming in and saying, gosh, we're going to have to take another rate decrease. So as Kelly said, we took another rate decrease that was double digits in nearly every territory in the state, effective November 1st. So if you kind of accumulate all that, the rate per 1,000 of coverage has probably gone down, new business quote to new business quote, apples to apples, in the last 18 months, probably 30%. And that is an incredible statistic in terms of the health of the market getting healing and getting better rapidly. Yes, policyholders are still facing budget issues and hospital issues because of the replacement cost of home value, but the rates themselves have eased quite a lot. Other piece of data, you know, you look at there have been 17 new companies approved in the past 2 years or so. Patriot Select is proud to be one of those companies. You know, we're a little different than some in that we're not a reciprocal exchange. We're not asking the policyholder to pay an additional 10% beyond their premium toward our surplus account. Our surplus account is doing very well, thank you. Our investors are very happy, and as Marcia said, we've accumulated almost $32 million in capital. So we don't need that extra 10% from the policyholder. But you know, those companies are all aggressively seeking business. So beyond just the issue of price, we think product innovations, service innovations are going to continue. It's a good time to be an agent in that sense, in that the companies are going to be seeking appointments, just like we are. Products are going to be tweaked to be even more policyholder friendly. And all companies, but certainly Patriot Select, are going to be focused, the ones that are in the independent agent market are going to be focused on service. That's where we see the market going, for the next year or two. Reinsurance costs, Marcia mentioned that our tower, as we call it, or structure of catastrophe reinsurance, both the ability to absorb the big one and also 3 or more events in a season. Reinsurance costs ratcheted up from 2019 to 2023, and that was a big driver of the rates ratcheting up. So think of reinsurance costs as sort of like the raw materials for the insurance policy. Capital is what insurance runs on, and reinsurance is just like rented capital, basically. So when reinsurance costs rise, the consumer's rates have to rise, and vice versa. The reinsurance rates have stabilized in 2023 and 24. They declined a little bit in 2025, and we expect them to decline further in 2026. They declined in 2025, even in the face of having 3 hurricane landfalls in Florida. But it's interesting. It was, in a way, it was good that we had Hurricane Milton last year, because it was a wind event, not just a flood event. It affected much of Central Florida. It affected a lot of homes. And it served as kind of a proof of concept for the reinsurance market that the litigation and legislative reforms really were working, because the models and the industry experts had said Milton would cost $25 to $30 billion right after it made landfall. They understood where the wind was blowing and the meteorology, and applied that to past events and said this should be a $30 billion storm. And I believe Commissioner Yaworsky was in front of the legislature earlier this week and noted that Milton has only cost insurance companies about $5 billion in paid claims to date. Now, we know the claim cycle isn't over in Milton, but even if you double that and think that the litigated claims will be the last ones to close, they'll be the most expensive, that's the typical actuarial view of that, you're talking about an event that was modeled at maybe a factor of 2 or more higher than what it's actually going to cost. And that positive surprise, we feel, is all the result of the litigation reforms that were created, in 2022. So we think there are a lot of positive parts of the story for the market in 2026 and beyond. The challenge, I think, is that some of these new carriers are not going to be able to scale by using the Citizens process. We do think the Citizens pool is pretty dry, and Citizens has almost completed the task of really returning itself to a market of last resort. And so it's going to be an aggressive, competitive market in terms of the voluntary homeowners product and related personal lines products. The legislature itself, and something we're asked all the time when we talk to reinsurers or investors or even agents, is, do you think the legislature is going to sort of have the spine to let these reforms stick? The trial lawyers were not very happy when the one-way attorney's fees law was reformed, and some of the related legal reforms occurred in 2022 and 23. They obviously will have some interest in rolling those back and opening up Florida to the litigation environment that it used to be. And one thing the insurance commissioner pointed out to me, and I'm not sure if he said this in front of the legislature, but I spoke with him Monday night, and he said, when people say that they're concerned about access to the courts, even after the litigation reforms and the 30 to 50% reduction in litigation that we've seen because of those reforms, Florida still has a higher rate of litigated claims than any other state in the U.S. by a factor of 2. So let's keep it all in perspective. There's not a problem with access to the courts in Florida, even after these reforms. So that's a good story to tell, but the legislature is under constant pressure. However, we feel that in 2026, the legislature truly understands and is now seeing the benefit in their constituents of these reforms. We feel that there's not going to be a lot of appetite to sort of look at something and finally see that, wow, we might have actually fixed something, and then just break it again. In 2027 and 28, you'll have an insurance agent as president of the Senate. So you'll have, in general, the legislature is not full of people that are knowledgeable about insurance. We do have a few insurance agents in the legislature, thank goodness, but it's not known as an area where they have deep technical expertise. However, we do have that insurance agent as president of the Senate in the next 2 years, and I think we will be able to, at least through 2028, sort of articulate that these reforms have made Florida a much cheaper place to live and should be retained. So, I won't speculate 3 or 4 years down the road, but we feel like the market is likely to be competitive and good for agents and good for consumers over the next few years. So with that, I'll kind of break and turn it back to the FAI staff.
Yeah, thanks, John. And certainly those were some of the questions I had. You already addressed them, but you're right. I think we're on a good path. There's some stabilization. There's some markets that are evolving. Patriot Select being one of those. It sounds like from the comments you made today that certainly innovation, technology, using AI. We talk about AI internally all the time. There's a lot of scary parts to it with a lot of our members are kind of uneasy with it. It sounds like you guys have embraced that technology to your advantage, which is great. It's great for the agents on this call and the ones that will listen to this because it does make the process better. It makes it more efficient, and you hope at the end of the day we'll starve off any third-party, representation. So those are great points you made, and I appreciate that. Caitlin, I want to bring you back in and just ask a question. How does an agent get a voluntary appointment? What is that process like for Patriot Select?
Thank you for asking that. Independent agents are at the center of our growth model, and I'll say it again, we're working to build out our distribution throughout the state of Florida. So we do have an appointment request application on our website. That is going to be the best way to get into our queue. It's going to have very easy information, some info about the profile of your business. And at that point, either myself, Desiree Rousseau, our inside sales manager, or one of our outside territory sales managers will reach out to you to have a conversation, answer any questions you may have, learn a little bit about your business, and see what we can do together.
Okay. So another question, Caitlin, is there more likelihood of an agent in Ocala getting a direct appointment or voluntary appointment, or maybe somebody in Southeast Florida, say Lauderdale or Miami-Dade?
We are open to partnering with the right agents, no matter where they're located in the state of Florida.
Okay. Well, that answers that. So, and then Emily, I was going to ask you a question in regards to claims. You talked about the app and the claims process. There's also a phone number where agents and customers can call in a claim, correct?
I believe yes.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And the quick reference guide that Caitlin provides, I believe at the very end of it, it has all of the phone numbers, and there's a QR code, I believe, on it, Caitlin, that takes them directly to how to submit a claim.
Yep, and that information is also all over our website.
The website,
Okay.
right.
Okay. All right. And then the last thing I have is, John mentioned the takeout, and you all have had some success with that, which is great. Congratulations. If you're an agent and you don't have a direct or voluntary appointment, but one of your policies gets selected, how do they get access then to Patriot Select to be able to go in and check policy information on those policies that got depopulated?
So I want to make sure I understood that question.
Yeah, Caitlin, I think.
If we select one of your policies we're only selecting policies from agents that we have a limited servicing agreement with. So we aren't able to assume any policies unless we have at least an LSA with you.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think the question was there a question about how to get access to the policy system? Was that the question?
Well, I think the question was, again, believe it or not, there's still agents that now that we're getting, John said that number of citizens policies that's available is getting quite short. There's still members and agents that have never got a policy that have been selected. So I think we're still getting agents that are kind of new to the process. And the LSA really speaks to that. You will get a limited servicing agreement, and from that, then you will be able to get credentials and be able to look and service that policy, correct?
Yeah, yes, and I
Correct.
wanted to point, the reason I brought that up is because I see a lot of the back and forth because my name's on it, and the most common question is when am I going to get my credentials? And we
Okay.
don't typically do the credentials when it's LSA, when it's your first LSA takeout until around the assumption date, because then we know what we've gotten.
Yep.
And we're
Yep.
not giving out credentials to agents that end up with no policies. And there's a lag there because, you select 2 months ahead of assumption day.
Yep. That's great. Great point. Makes sense, right? Because
Mhm.
if it doesn't go through, then you've wasted both your time and their time setting up the thing. Caitlin, going back to you, we started this call talking about the partnership and certainly from our perspective, adding a viable option for independent agents through independent market solutions. How can we further that relationship? What can we do as an association and our members that are on this call to bring that relationship even closer? What can we do on our side?
Dave, it starts here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to get out there and get in front of your agents. We feel like we're at a point where we've sort of built our framework out, and as we roll into next year, it's more about getting out there, letting the agents know who we are, and showing what we can do for them. So we just appreciate this visibility.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I agree, and I appreciate you guys making the time because these are the examples of partnerships that do make a difference because agents can relate. And I think the other thing that we get asked all the time, and it's been displayed on this call today, and I know you guys have been out and about talking to agents, is the team that's been assembled, this team that John has assembled, right? Because one of the first questions I get asked and we get asked at the association, well, who are they? Do they know Florida? What is their experience? And you all bring a strong pedigree of the Florida marketplace, and you've weathered the storm, so to speak, right? You've been through the trenches. You've been through multiple events, for whether it's your previous life or your other experience that you bring to Patriot Select. So that goes a long way because agents feel more comfortable in that. So the more that story gets out, as John is very eloquent when he talks about, being I think 7th generational Floridian, John, is that correct?
Well, 4th generation for sure, and we're not totally sure beyond that. But
okay, 4th.
I grew up hearing horror stories of Hurricane Donna in 1960. Those are my bedtime stories.
All right. Well, we're not going to date. So 7 may be a stretch, but 4 for sure. Okay, but that is a big deal, and agents like that because they know. Because we, as everybody on this call knows, we've had some operators come in from the Midwest and not have much success because they don't know the Florida marketplace and what the expectations are. So that's good to know that you guys live and breathe the Florida marketplace, and that makes it a huge difference when it comes to agents and selling and representing your product. So thank you for all that. Okay, with that in mind, that was really all I had. I really appreciate you guys coming on. I think these are the conversations that make a difference. If we can do anything or any of our members can do anything, please let us know. We'd love to make sure the correct information is being communicated because that's part of our challenge we all face, right, is the miscommunication of messaging. And we certainly don't want that. It sounds like you guys are building out some additional products and services that agents could certainly build into their processes, and being on the radars is one of those. So with that in mind, Jeff, next slide. But thank you all for being here this morning. I really appreciate it, and we'll certainly see you down the road, and certainly at convention for sure. So just the last thing I'll say about Friday Morning Live, thanks for attending, all those attendees. We do record this. We're certainly, if you missed it, not you missed it, but if your team missed it or you want to go back and listen to what some of the Patriot Select folks had to say, certainly we'll have it on our website under the FML page. and you can take a listen or share it with a colleague, because I think there's a lot of great information that was displayed and spoken about today about Patriot Select and their willingness to support independent agents here in the state of Florida. So with that in mind, happy Thanksgiving to everybody next week. Enjoy the holiday, family and friend, and we will see you next year. I won't have any more shows till 26, so enjoy the rest of your year and the holidays. And with that being said, have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Take care.